Good morning from what is undoubtedly the most beautiful port when you're on a Disney cruise, Castaway Cay. This is where we're going to be spending the day today. Probably that way back there, which is the adult beach. So we have kind of the activities beach right there, where you can rent watercrafts and paddle boats and that kind of stuff. That is the Stingray Marina, where you can pet stingrays and feed them. And then where all the umbrellas are out there in the water, that is the snorkeling lagoon with all the buried treasures. That's the family beach down there. And then on the back side of the island, back there, is Serenity Bay for adults. Only on a Disney cruise do you get your towels from Chippendale. Oh my goodness. Thank you, thank you. You guys look amazing. There's a law at Castaway Cay that you have to take 7,000 photos of the ship, because it really gives you the best opportunity to see it. Boy, they're washing the heck out of it today. She is new after all. You got to keep her looking good.
Oh, look at that little boy in the window.
He's loving it. Once again, I'm contractually obligated to take photos and videos along this walk because it's so beautiful, right?
Every time.
Required.
Just don't get enough of it.
We have the same photos and videos. This is has every cruise that we've ever taken come here? No,
I think so.
Not California.
Oh yeah.
So I think this is our 8th trip to Castaway Cay.
Yeah. And it feels like the first time. It's so beautiful.
I know, every time it feels like it's its own adventure.
And
we always kind of do the same thing too. It's not like we do anything. Well, that's not true. One time we did bikes.
We did bikes.
One time we did parasailing.
I've done the 5K twice.
Have you done the 5K? I've done snorkeling multiple times.
Yeah.
And then lately, we've kind of settled into our routine of just going to Serenity Bay and sitting on the beach. Coming up on the first stop. It's been about a 5-minute walk to here, I'd say. You can see the ship way back there. There it is. The thing is, every other port, it's a pain to go to the beach. Like, you gotta have a taxi or you gotta pay for an excursion. And here, you just wander off the boat.
Not like this. Because this is Disney sand.
They trucked it in. And so we're heading towards the family beach, Serenity Bay. There's first aid, and then there's gift shops here. Here's Mount Rushmore. Photo! All right, we've reached Family Beach. There's tons of chairs available still, even though we have a full ship.
Jeez, that gives me hope for Serenity.
Yeah. And then on the right here is Cookies Barbecue. This is where one of the lunch spots. There's two. There's Cookies Barbecue and Cookies Barbecue too. But we're going to be in Serenity Bay, which is called, I think it's just called Serenity Bay Barbecue. There's the second family beach with a play area out there in the water that you have to swim to. This is the snorkeling lagoon. We passed the Conked Out bar. There's multiple bars on the island. Over there is the Heads Up bar. And again, it does not feel crowded here at all. We're a ways off here, but that's the big water slide on the island called Pelican Point. You actually have to swim across to get to it, get in line, and then it jumps you off right into the ocean.
So as we are on our tram ride out to Serenity Bay, a few words about this island of Castaway Cay. Originally, this island was known as Gorda Cay, and in 1997, Disney Cruise Line purchased a 99-year lease. And so this was the first private island in the cruise industry where the ship actually docks on the island and there's no need for tendering. This island is about 1,000 acres, but only 55 of those acres are being used. And there's about 140 members of the Disney Cruise Line who live here full-time to help maintain and keep this island running. So we are on our way out to Serenity Bay, and this is the 18 and over portion of the island. No children allowed here. There's a separate dining area. There's a private beach. There are Serenity Bay cabanas for rental, although they are very hard to get. And overall, this is the most luxurious and I would say relaxing area of Castaway Cay. So this is where we like to spend most of our time.
Ah, yes, the waters of Serenity Bay. Not sure we can find a spot out there in the water. There's 3 of us here. Now there's quite a few down by the food area, but we always take the extra time to walk down to the end of the beach. And there's nobody here. What a beautiful day.
We had an amazing time on Serenity Bay, just relaxing, reading our books, sitting with our chairs in the gentle waves, watching the fish and the starfish. Just a great day. Here, on the way back to the ship, is the snorkeling lagoon. And so you see some snorkelers out there, and what's unique about this area on the island is that Disney actually submerged several hidden treasures in this lagoon that you can find while snorkeling. And so there's hidden ride vehicles and characters and statues of Mickey and Minnie and an old 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea submarine. All kinds of exciting adventures in snorkeling. And so as our Castaway Cay adventures come to an end for the day, we head back towards the beautiful Disney treasure and back on board, and we are going to jump right into an activity called the Jungle Cruise Interactive Adventure. And if you've watched our previous videos, we've talked about these storytellers on the Disney treasure. Their names are Coriander and Sage, who bring this entirely different level of live entertainment to the ship, and they're about to take us on this interactive adventure in the Grand Hall of the ship.
We are in our Jungle Cruise boat.
I don't think I can stand on this.
Notice the other team is all kids.
The one's coming from everybody. Thank goodness. Very good. Seatbelts on. Seatbelts on.
Will your boat cross the finish line first? Ready, skippers?
Are you ready?
Nah, it isn't too big right? This is why I both go their separate ways, all right? But
What will they pick up next?
The last night on a Disney cruise ship is always a bit bittersweet, and so we chose to take one more journey into the Scat Cat Lounge and listen to Matt Greinke, the amazingly talented pianist who was performing throughout our cruise. And it was a great capstone to an amazing 7 nights of just relaxation and luxury and pure Disney magic. And so tomorrow morning we get off the ship, and this adventure comes to an end, but it's not the last one. We are booked for the Disney Destiny, the next ship coming out in the Disney Cruise Line fleet, which premieres later this year, but we have a sailing booked for February of 2026. Well, if you've made it this far, you've made it through, what, 5 cruise videos? 6?
Something like that.
5 or 6 cruise videos. So hopefully you guys enjoyed coming along with us on the Disney Treasure. And we figured we would do a little recap and review of our experience on the ship and tell you what we thought and how it compares to the other ships and kind of just a summary of our experience. Today is March 13th, so we've been off the ship for a month.
Boy,
I know.
time flies.
It's crazy. What would you say about your first impressions, first boarding the ship, kind of the Grand Hall, the Atrium, the overall design and theming of the ship compared to the other ships? And we have been lucky enough to sail on every ship. So we've done the Magic, the Wonder, the Dream, the Fantasy, the Wish, and now the Treasure. So what are your thoughts?
I'm putting myself back there right now. And first off, I love the warm, inviting atrium of the Treasure better than any other ship. And I think a lot of that is like the jewel tones that are used and the lighting. The atrium chandelier has like a kind of an Aladdin Moroccan type vibe with what I love in our house, which is like mood lighting and, warm light and not real bright white light, and all of the little nooks and crannies, places where you can sit and chill. And even though the plants in the atrium are not real,
Unfortunately.
it does add a little bit of green vibe, which I liked.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's any question that it's the most impressive atrium to walk into. I mean, the Magic and the Wonder are awesome, but smaller, just a different style. The Dream and the Fantasy are a similar size. The atrium's, I think, a similar size. But the Treasure just has a totally different feel to it. And walking into the Wish was also pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But the Wish is much more of a, I don't know, I almost want to say sterile
I
environment.
was just going to use the word clean.
Yeah, I mean,
Just real clean.
it's much more princessy. It's most everything is white and gold.
Yeah.
For the most part.
It's beautiful.
It's
beautiful.
And we were pretty amazed walking into the Wish too.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't like we walked in and were disappointed with the Wish.
No.
But the Treasure is a much more of a inviting, kind of comfortable feeling, I think.
Yeah, I really liked it. Although I will say, a different class of ship, but the Dream and the Fantasy both have nostalgia value for me, just because we cruised most on those ships and had our kids on that class of ship mostly. And so I always have that sense of nostalgia, just like walking into Disneyland, even though I think, if I had to choose right now where I wanted to go, I would choose Disney World. But it's kind of the same feel. Like Disneyland has that nostalgia vibe, and so do the Dream and Fantasy. But the Treasure is like that drop your jaw and feel comfortable and at home.
I agree. Yeah. The newer ships, the Wish and the Treasure, I think are different than the older ships because now there's more of a cohesive theme that applies to the entire ship. Where the older ships have themed areas, you have a themed restaurant and you have themed lounges, but the ship as a whole is just themed to Disney Cruise Line. But the Wish is basically themed after Cinderella and kind of Disney princesses, and the Treasure is themed after Aladdin, Jasmine, but kind of a bigger sense of adventure and exploration and treasure, obviously, and kind of the Middle Eastern, Moroccan, Arabian vibe, I would say, everywhere.
I love that. I love that so very, very much.
And the upcoming Destiny next year will be themed to heroes and villains, and so the entire ship has a theme on these newer Triton class ships, which I definitely like. I think it adds to the overall kind of escapism of being on the ship for a week.
Yeah.
All right. What about the layout of the ship, the Treasure? And it's kind of the same as the Wish. Are there any frustrations, good things, bad things about the newer ships compared to the Dream and Fantasy or Magic and Wonder?
Oh, yeah. Well, I can pick out a few things right off. And even comparing the Wish to the Treasure, the directional signage, and I felt like on the Treasure, and maybe they'll add it to the Wish eventually, but on the Treasure, there was a lot more signage and, up on the kind of the wall in the elevator area, you could see, if you go this way, you're going up.
Arrows and signs, Haunted Mansion, Parlor, and Scat.
Yeah, and I really liked that because it's such a huge ship, and it takes me a while to get oriented. I would say that, again, the 7-day cruise, by the time you're midway through your cruise, you have kind of gotten your bearings straight. Whereas on the Wish, we were on there for 3 days, 4 days?
3 full days, 4 nights, yeah.
I never really got my bearings straight. Even though they're similar now, I probably would feel better on the Wish now that I know the Treasure so well. But
I think we've talked about this before, but people sometimes complain about the elevator layouts on the Wish and the Treasure because there's only 2 banks of elevators instead of 3. There's no midship elevators, but I don't think that's an issue. It is weird how on each side, forward and aft, only half the elevators go to deck 13 and the other half go to deck 11, but you don't know before you hit the button if you're going to get one that goes up or not. So you have to just gamble.
I felt like that was a little bit of a woohoo! I got one.
For us, it was not a big deal, but I remember saying on the ship that if we were with somebody in a wheelchair, somebody that could not take the stairs, I think the elevators could be frustrating.
Well, the elevators could be frustrating.
Yeah.
They are small, but that's what they're like on all of the ships.
People talk about that on all the ships. What about, so one of the differences in the Wish and the Treasure is that on all the other 4 Disney Cruise Line ships, the adult area is an area. It's usually like deck 3 aft, I think, or 4 aft. And you've got 4 or so adult lounges that are all different, but they're all clustered together and it's all 18 and over and it's all separate. Where on the Wish and the Treasure, the lounges are scattered randomly throughout decks 3, 4, and 5. Do you like that? Do you not like that?
I mean, I just think it's just a different class of ship. It's just a different experience. I don't dislike either of those things. I think when you have like the district adult area, you have less traffic passing through those adult areas. And not that I mind that traffic necessarily, but if you're chilling listening to a piano tune and then there's a kid who has had plenty of sunshine and happiness for the day, it's nice when the whole adult area is in one portion of the ship. But I think I like it spread out better.
Yeah, I think so too. I think people knock that, but I think I agree. And I don't really know why. I guess it just spreads you along the ship a little bit more. So you're not always going to deck 3 aft every time you go into a lounge. It's different places. And so it's different sites, different parts of the ship, different experiences. Another knock on the Wish and Treasure is that some of the adult areas are small, which is definitely true.
That's true.
There's no getting around that. However, I don't know, like the Scat Cat Lounge was one of our favorite spots, and it is very small. And it's very easy to kind of go to the front door and look inside and say there's nowhere to sit and just go do something else. But so I think you have to be a little bit more, I don't know if aggressive is the right word, but I was always able to get in there by just walking in the door, standing there, looking around. There's lots of kind of shared spaces where there's like a big long couch and then several tables, and you might have to kind of get a little cozy with somebody or just kind of wait for a bar stool to open up or whatnot. And that's for a party of 1 or 2. A party of 8 is going to have a hard time finding a seat in there.
Sure.
Unless you get there really early. But I still think you can get in, even last minute, but you have to be a little bit more persistent. It's not going to, and you may have to stand, and it's not going to be as easy as the big spaces.
The Scat Cat was, Haunted Mansion Parlor is awesome, but Scat Cat, for whatever reason, just that jazzy feel was just incredible. It does have that like outdoor and not outdoor, the outside bar area where you can kind of see through to the lounge. And I found that there were I didn't walk past there when I couldn't have sat at least at one bar stool at that outdoor space, and just kind of waited to see people going in and out. And then if you wanted to move inside, you could.
One thing I noticed though on this cruise that I had never seen on any of our prior Disney cruises is some of the popular things like trivia would be held in 2 places simultaneously. To double.
I think that's great.
Yeah. But I've never seen that before. Because we just came off the Dream in November, and I think we had a pretty frustrating time on the Dream with trivia too. Every time we tried to go somewhere, you couldn't find a place to sit, and we're like standing for a half hour, which isn't the end of the world, but it wasn't ideal. So to have Triton Lounge and Sarabi, or Triton Lounge and I don't know where else. I don't know. And there'd be a couple different spots for the same exact thing happening twice to double the capacity.
And I think that's brilliant.
The lounges on board. Let's talk about those. So I think there are 4. There's the Haunted Mansion Parlor. There is the Skipper Society, themed after the Jungle Cruise attraction. There is Periscope Pub, themed after 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, both the attraction and the film. And there is Triton Lounge, which is kind of a mostly unthemed area, trivia area.
I didn't even go in there.
Yeah, it's not very exciting. And then I think Sarabi's kind of in a different category. Sarabi's like a 2-story venue where they did live shows and bingo. I feel like and Scat Cat Lounge. So Haunted Mansion Parlor, Skipper Society, Scat Cat Lounge,
and Periscope Pub.
Those are the main 4.
Those are the main 4.
Yeah. How would you rank those?
Oh boy,
Totally
like 1 to 4.
Yeah. Like right now, if the same event was being held at all 4 things, which one would I
go to? Even though I said I loved Scat Cat for my favorite entertainment, if I have to choose one to go to, I think it would be Haunted Mansion Parlor. I think that would be 1 for me, although I did find myself enjoying the other lounges just as much because they're just different and awesome. But if I wouldn't want to miss it just because of the intense theming. So that would be number 1. Number 2 would be Scat Cat. I love the classy jazz feel of Scat Cat. Number 3 would be Periscope. Yep. And number 4 would be Skipper Society. Skipper Society is a little bit different in that it's like open and kind of in a main walking area. And I kind of like the more intimate, closed space. So that would be
I can see that. It's
And
interesting. I'm torn on this one. Go ahead.
yeah, well, I would also say that we took the time before this cruise to watch the movies that were associated with the lounges for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that really made the experience that much better because we were able to sit in there and really pick out all the Easter eggs and kind of the hidden gems.
Yeah, especially for me, Aristocats and 20,000 Leagues were a weak spot. So it was good to
I
watch
agree.
those before.
Those were both good ones to watch before.
So I'm totally torn on this one because I don't think there's any doubt that Haunted Mansion Parlor is the most like jaw-dropping, immersive, themed space on any Disney Cruise Line ship anywhere. That place is unbelievable, and you do feel. You don't feel like you're on a ship. You do feel like you've been transported to that world, I think, more than anywhere else. But I feel like going into the cruise, I thought I was going to appreciate Haunted Mansion Parlor and Periscope Pub the most. But I actually think after the cruise, I would say I actually enjoyed myself most in Scat Cat and Skipper Society. It was the exact opposite of what I expected. Like I would not want to miss Haunted Mansion Parlor ever. I love that, but it's kind of like going to the Trader Sam's at the Polynesian, where like it's cool and it's themed and it's fun and you have to experience it, but it's not like the most relaxing place in the world.
100%.
Just sit down and have a drink. It's loud and it's intense and stuff's always happening. So it's almost more like you're in an attraction than you're in a lounge. It's worth doing, but if you want to go to a nice quiet place and just relax, then those other two, Scat Cat and Skipper, not that Skipper Society is quiet by any means, but Scat Cat is. And then I think it's because those are the ones that have the live entertainment. There's no live entertainment in Periscope or Haunted Mansion. So in Scat Cat, you have the piano in there, which was awesome with the pianist on our cruise. And Skipper Society has a stage with a band. And then Skipper Society also has such a cool collection of details and callbacks.
That is true.
Like secrets and Easter eggs all over the walls to explore. So when it's packed in there and there's a band, that's one vibe. And when it's empty in there and you can just walk around and explore, it's a totally different vibe. So yeah, I think those two would be my favorites. Although in terms of my favorite space, the designed space, that would be the Haunted Mansion Parlor.
I think that's where I am too. And also because I'm not drinking alcohol, just as a choice. All of them were a little bit more like an attraction for me. And I want to just say that the burger that we had at Periscope Pub,
that was awesome,
was delicious.
Yeah, their food was great. It's an extra
Their
cost.
food was great. It was additional, but we skipped one night of dining, pirate night, and went to Periscope for dinner, and it was delightful. And we were not in there, I don't think, when it was busy.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I didn't have
never
a
a
problem
finding a seat in there.
No.
It's kind of hidden up there in like that back corner, and the doors are closed. You're not even sure it's open until you get in there. So it's different than Skipper Society, where everybody's walking by it all the time.
Everybody's walking by. But I do agree with Skipper Society has a lot of historical references and Easter eggs that were delightful to just walk around and check out.
So dining. Let's talk about main dining. So we've talked about this in the prior videos, but every Disney cruise line does this thing called rotational dining. There's 3 different restaurants on every Disney cruise ship that are all themed to one degree or another. Some are really themed, some are, well, they're all really themed, really. And then you rotate from restaurant to restaurant each night. So on a 7-night cruise, you would do all 3 restaurants twice and 1 restaurant 3 times. And there's a different menu each night. And then your servers rotate with you. So whoever's at your table, whether it's just you or you're with anybody else, your whole table will be, we were table 310. We were table 310 for the whole cruise. And you move to the next restaurant, and you find table 310, sit down, and your servers are the same, which is awesome. I think that's such a nice part of Disney
It is
cruising.
nice.
But on this ship, there are 3 restaurants. So you have Worlds of Marvel, which is kind of an interactive screen-based Marvel experience. You have 1923, which is themed after the year the Disney company was founded. And that one's kind of split into 2 sides, the Walt Disney and the Roy Disney side. And there's no show or anything on that restaurant. It's more about kind of a classic feel and a lot of original Disney art that inspired the films, and really, really good menu. And then the third one is the Plaza de Coco, which is kind of the star of the show, so to speak. That's kind of the big
extravaganza.
dinner show.
Yeah.
There's 2 different dinner shows when you're on a 7-night cruise, and it's all Mexican themed and Mexican food. So what are your thoughts on those 3 restaurants?
The 3 restaurants. Well, my favorite, okay, so I have to separate it into experience and food.
Yep.
Because they are different categories. But I can say that my overall favorite was 1923.
Okay.
And that's because I took the time to really dive deep into the display cases. We were able to get in there when they weren't open, or maybe it was after dinner was served in between.
I think we did both.
Yeah. We were able to really explore the cases and the displays, and I just had a new appreciation for both sides, the Walt side and the Roy side. And on top of that, it was my favorite menu by far. So 1923 would be number 1. Now it's not going to, we weren't traveling with kids. So I don't think it would be a favorite for kids, because it is more of a, think Brown Derby vibe. Like, it's like a classic, kind of a fancier feel. My next would be Coco. I loved the theming. When you walk down the hallway, you feel like you are going into the plaza. And when you get in there, there are trees up above, and you feel like you're in an open air plaza with a celebration going on in bright colors, and the ofrenda was incredible. And so for experience, I loved Coco. And I loved the enchilada appetizer on the menu, but I was not impressed with the menu at all. It was definitely not on my list of favorites either night. Yeah, at Coco.
Interesting. I didn't have that sense.
The thing that I liked most were the enchiladas.
Yeah. The churros were amazing for dessert.
I did not have those. And caveat, one of the nights that we did Coco was a heavy swell night, like 9-foot waves, and I was feeling awful.
Yeah,
so
that impacts it a lot.
With a grain of salt there. And then my least favorite on both of the ships is Avengers Marvel. Yeah. I don't, it might be because I'm not as big of a Marvel fan, but I don't really appreciate the screen stuff happening. And the interactive, like trivia stuff. That's not my bag. So I would put that last for sure. And the food is also last for me. Yeah.
My ranking would be the same. I think it's hard to argue that 1923 doesn't have the best quality of food and the best menu. There's a peppered filet mignon that is just amazing at 1923. So if I was to choose one of those that I want to go eat at for the food, I would pick 1923 every time. Although I really personally like the Coco food too. It's Mexican food. You know what you're getting. It's nice because you get chips and salsa there. Where every other
I
Disney
like the chip and salsa.
You get bread service.
Yeah.
So that was a nice swap. And I agree that Worlds of Marvel, I don't think I had any bad food at Worlds of Marvel, but it was my least appealing, I guess, of the 3. I went into it fully expecting to be blown away by the Coco show, and I kind of wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, I liked it, but I don't think it was as good as the Frozen show on the Wish, and I don't even think it was as good as some of the more themed spaces on the other ships, like the Tiana's restaurant I think it's on the Wonder, if I have that correct, and the Tangled restaurant on the Magic. I could have those flipped, but I think that's right. And then Tangled restaurant, all the servers come out and do this parade with the lanterns and the lights and the music, and it's pretty powerful. And they did kind of the same thing at the Coco restaurant with the Alebrije, but it was one server and one animal that she was controlling on a stick. It wasn't like it blew your socks off. I didn't really have that, I guess, emotional connection to the show that I thought I was going to have. And maybe that's because the seas were bad, and I don't know.
I will say again, one more time, that the ofrenda was amazing. They have an ofrenda set up with marigolds and pictures and candles and little things, and that was awesome. The theming in that restaurant was on point.
The design of it's
Yeah.
gorgeous. Walking into it and seeing it. I guess that's why. I guess I walked into it thinking, oh my God, this is going to be epic. I cannot wait.
Mhm.
And then as the show was finishing, I was kind of like, oh, I kind of thought it would be a little more than that.
Yeah.
Not that the performers
They
were
were
great.
they were incredible
the music was great, the singing was
musicians.
good.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was bad quality. It was just,
Yeah.
I don't know, I just feel like it didn't hit the mark for
What
me.
you said, emotional attachment, I think is the situation. But
Yeah.
what about the leisure activities? So like you had a chance to experience some of the pool. I will not get on a cruise ship pool, but he does. So how were the pools? If you could make any sort of
Yeah.
the adult area
Yeah.
comparison.
Overall, not why I go on a Disney cruise line for sure.
Yeah.
Like the main pools on the main deck, where there's those 6, I think, small pools, are a total people swamp kid fest. I
People
don't
soup.
think I would go in those pools. I have to just sit on the side and like put my feet in when there's nobody in there, but I wouldn't go swimming in them. They're really shallow anyway. So that the only really pool I would consider going in would be the adult pool, and it is small on those ships.
Mhm.
And so it was packed always. I even went there a couple times that I kind of thought it wouldn't be crowded, and there was still 10 people in a small pool, more than I wanted to. So there was one night, I think it was the Beauty and the Beast night, and we had seen the matinee show, and I went up there to the adult area during first dining, and so half the ship is eating and the other half's at the Beauty and the Beast, and so that it was actually empty. And I had a great time. It was super fun. And the water was sloshing, and I was by myself riding the waves.
It was pretty funny watching him. I put my feet in the water, I think, but
Yeah.
There were like whirlpools spinning him around.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Right. That was awesome. But it was only fun because I was the only one in there, and I could just kind of freely fly around the pool.
Yeah.
I would not have done that if there was other people in the pool with me.
Yeah.
So overall, I don't think you go on a Disney cruise line for the pools.
For the pools, yeah.
There's the Aquamouse attraction, which is fun. I do enjoy it. I don't think you like it that much.
I didn't mind it. I just wouldn't. I mean, I didn't need to do it more than once.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
You know?
I would do it more than once if there was a 5-minute wait or less, but sometimes, especially on sea days, that has a 30-minute wait. I would not do that.
Again, though, think back when our boys were, 10 and 14, they would have been
and that's why
round and around and around. Yeah.
Yeah, those pools
So-
and the Aquamouse was not installed for the 40-year-olds sailing
No.
without kids.
No, not at all. So just know that for sure.
Yeah.
I can speak on the spa for sure.
Yeah.
I did get a full cruise rainforest pass, which was $339, I think, for just open season. Anytime you wanted to
For
go, you
7-night
could
cruise.
go. Yeah. And I love the rainforest. I have gone to the rainforest on every ship. And I can say with certainty, after experiencing the Wish and the Treasure, that all of them are lovely, but the rainforest on the Dream and the Fantasy are far superior, in my opinion.
I don't think you're alone in that opinion. Well,
Yeah,
maybe you
well,
are. I don't
maybe.
think so.
In fact, we are going to be sailing the Destiny next year, and I've already decided that I do not need a full cruise rainforest pass. I do want to perhaps go one day just to check it out. But I'll tell you my biggest thing. There are a couple of big things. One of my favorite saunas is called the hammam, and it's the hottest sauna, and it is incredible. A lot of people can't handle it because it's so hot. I love it. And on the Dream and the Fantasy, it is like a traditional hammam shaped, like with rounded, it's like a dome inside there. And it's nice because the steam water kind of rolls off and doesn't drop right down on your face. And on those ships, the lighting is very subtle and muted. And on the Treasure and the Wish, they're both kind of square corners and harsh lines. The lighting is a little like LED bright white, and the drips drip off the ceiling onto your face. The ship is rocking, so it's not a little bit of drip. When the ship is rocking, you get lots of drips, and it's kind of gross. So I don't really love that. And the other thing is the heated lounge chairs. They are famous and they are delightful. On the Dream and the Fantasy, those chairs have a little bit of a quiet area where you can see out to the ocean, and it is amazing. If you can find one of those chairs open, it's delightful, quiet, nice, calm. On the Wish and the Treasure, these lounge chairs are circled all around the main central area. They do not have a view. There is not a window. You cannot see out. And it's loud because everybody's getting in and out of the showers and the sauna, and it's not as relaxing.
Yeah.
So I would say on the Wish and the Treasure, don't worry about getting a full cruise pass. In my opinion, don't worry about getting a full cruise pass. If you want to check it out, get a day or two. It's sufficient because you can go to the fitness center anytime you want that it's open, and that's free. So
I think the main reason why you might consider getting it is because you have that outdoor area with a bunch of really comfortable seating and 2 hot tubs. And the adult area is such a mess on the not a mess, but it's so small on the Wish and the Treasure that maybe you want a quieter space to be outside.
That's a good point.
And we were staying Concierge, which we'll talk about in a minute. So we have the Concierge sun deck area.
So we didn't have to find a quiet spot.
Right. But if you're not staying Concierge,
That's
maybe
a good
that
point.
makes it worth it for you.
That's a good point. I personally I went outside on the Wish, but I did not go outside once on the Treasure. But I do agree with you that had something to do with us having an escape.
Yeah, if you want to make sure
Concierge.
you have a space where you don't have to fight for a lounger and can go to a hot tub.
Yeah.
You could do that at the Rainforest.
Yeah.
So one area where, well, I guess we can talk about it, but I think the Treasure probably is the top of the Disney Cruise Line fleet, would be the Walt Disney Theater shows. So every Disney Cruise Line, I think this is fair to say, every Disney Cruise Line has 3 kind of Broadway quality, Broadway style shows. I think that's true. And they're usually a combination of kind of a mixture show, an amalgam of an original story, and then a bunch of different Disney characters that come and go. And then they'll also do some retelling of Disney films. Mm-hmm. And so on the Disney Treasure, there's Seize the Adventure, which is the same show, pretty much the same show as The Wish. And that's kind of the combination amalgam show. And then there is the Beauty and the Beast show, which is the same as The Dream. And then there is Moana, the Tale of Moana, I think that's what it's called, which is the unique show built just for the Treasure.
We saw Beauty and the Beast on the Dream, and I was a ball baby, and it was incredible. And I also really loved the Frozen show. I thought that was a really great show. But Moana, I mean,
yeah,
it's hard.
Speechless like that. It's hard to have words.
Yeah,
it's mind blowing.
It is
so awesome.
Beauty and the Beast and Moana are both Broadway caliber shows.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen some Disney shows on Broadway and they are both up there. The actors are incredible. Their singing voices are amazing. Disney does an incredible, set design and puppeteering, and they do a really, really good job. But that Moana show was like, just took your heart and did all sorts of things to it.
Yeah. Our whole row was crying.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Including this guy. Yeah. It was.
And not only like the emotional connection, but the puppets. And you've got Maui switching from eagle to shark to insect. You've got Te Fiti like being on stage converted. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but there's.
But it's amazing.
And we had super high expectations for Moana because the word on the street was that it was great, and it was even better than I expected it to be.
It was awesome.
Yeah. The last thing I think we wanted to talk about is that, and we've mentioned it, but we were lucky enough to be able to stay in Concierge for this sailing. So for those who don't know, Concierge is a different category of room. So you book a Concierge room when you book your room. So there's inside rooms that have no view. There's ocean view rooms that have a porthole. There's veranda rooms that have a balcony. And then there's Concierge rooms, which are also balcony rooms. Actually, there are some porthole Concierge rooms too, and then suites. But then what you get with Concierge is this kind of above and beyond level of service, and then also access to the Concierge lounge, which is much larger and more impressive on the Wish and Treasure than any of the other shows. It's expensive, and it's probably close to double the cost of doing a regular balcony room. So it's a huge splurge, but it is just the experience. The cruising experience is completely different when you have concierge, I think. And so for us, it's definitely worth it, understanding that that's, you know, a huge luxury, and we're lucky to be able to afford it from time to time. We've done it twice out of our 9 cruises so far, and you know, there's no way we would do it every time, but it's just kind of hard to describe. Everything is easy when you're in concierge. You know, the things that are the downsides of cruising, like things are sold out and there's not enough space and you can't get in, or there's a long line and you have to wait, or you're waiting to get into the cruise to the Walt Disney Theater, or you want a last minute booking at Palo, or somebody, you know, like our dining got screwed up just before we got on board. Normally you have to go down to deck 4 on the Treasure and wait in what's usually a pretty long line to talk to guest services, or you have to go on the ship right when you board and you have to rush to a certain area where you can make all your dining changes or last minute reservations. But when you're in concierge, there's a whole team of people just waiting to do all that for you. You don't go to guest services, you don't go to dining, you just go to concierge lounge. And there's usually 2 to 5 concierge hosts working at all times who can help just solve problems and help get you booked. And I mean, we had to cancel an excursion. We weren't technically allowed to. They got it canceled, no problem. We got our money back. We booked, or we changed a Palo or an Enchanté reservation, no problem. They canceled it for us. Yeah, what else?
Well, you know, Disney is really known for their elevated customer service, but this is just a step above, like you said. I would say that the personalization that they're able to provide for each guest. So from, you know, the first day we were there, they, you know, learned our names and everybody's name.
How they do that, by the way?
Everybody's name.
There's like 72 concierge rooms, I think. And by the end of the first day, they knew everybody's name. Everybody who walked by, hey, Gary, hey, Buffy, how's it going?
And that was without exception. There wasn't a time that I walked into that lounge that I wasn't greeted with my name and and not only that, but like kind of knew what we were doing, like kept track of what we had been doing and the things that we were, you know, participating in, and would like engage in conversation with us about that, which I really, really loved. I loved the coffee machines in there. I mean, it sounds like a weird thing, but the quality of coffee that you can get out of those machines by pushing a button at any time is amazing. And the food is amazing.
So there's, in that concierge lounge, there's a case in the back with a bunch of small plates that are pre-made. There's half that's dessert and half that's savory. And there's 3, they change it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's 3 different options, and they're different every day for the most part. Some things are the same. And then also, if you sit down in the concierge lounge, you're almost immediately greeted by a server who gets you a menu, and then you can order hot food. And there's a kitchen and a chef for just the concierge lounge making these hot plates that are kind of like appetizer sized, I'd say. I mean, they're small.
They're like tapas,
tapas. Yeah, it's not meant to replace your main dining. It could. I think we did that once or twice. Yeah. But it's not meant to do that, though. I think it's meant to be, you know, something you would do instead of getting pizza on the pool deck, or something. Instead of doing cabanas for breakfast, you would get, I think we had breakfast in the concierge lounge every day except for one. And we regretted it. Yeah.
And do you remember Castaway Cay Day? They have churro waffles in Marceline Market, which is the big buffet area. And
famous churro waffles.
I just asked our concierge server if they had the churro waffles, because I didn't know. And he was like, no, but we can send someone for them. I was like, no, do not do that. Do not send anyone. And they send someone and they stand in line and wait for your churros. Now, he did end up bringing me those churro waffles. He did it anyway.
Yeah.
And
that's what that kind of service is.
It was like, I was like, no, do not worry about that. And here he comes, like, you know, 5 minutes later with the churro waffles that I wanted. It was really lovely. And the outside areas are typically quiet.
Always
and
quiet.
You can find a seat and you can sit and enjoy it. And the views are incredible.
Yeah, it's right off the front of the ship on decks 12 and 13. And there's really comfy padded loungers and towels and complimentary sunscreen and 2 hot tubs on the upper deck and a little kind of like a waiting splash pool area. And there's Disney piano music playing. And it's that, I mean, one of the hardest parts on the ship, if you're not staying concierge, is that if you want to go down and sit at the pool and read a book on a sea day, it's hard to find a spot. It's always, usually you can find one, but it's always hard to find a spot.
Yeah.
Concierge lounge. And I mean, if you've been following our videos, you saw how many nights we were out there, and I was literally the only one out there, or we were the only ones out there. Especially on that. That's why the matinee showing is so huge, because if you go to the show for matinee, then, and we were second dining, then during first dining, the vast majority of the ship is either eating or at the show. So the ship, the adult spaces or the lounges are empty, the adult spaces are empty, the concierge lounge is empty. But even during the day, there'd be people up there, but it was never, never crowded, ever really.
The concierge servers were curious what I was drinking, because I wasn't drinking alcohol. And so they, by the time we were done with our cruise the last few days, they knew sort of the drinks that I like to have that were, you know, mocktails, and put kombucha in our room and made sure they had kombucha there so I could enjoy, you know, kombucha in a big girl glass so I could feel like I was, you know, adulting.
I think I'm just thinking about it as you're talking, and I think the concierge experience, I would boil down to like three things. The first thing is just the service and the fact that you can skip guest services and they can book things for you and take care of any issues that come up or arise. I mean, on the Wish, we were also concierge, and one of our kids' magic bands stopped working, and they tried to troubleshoot it for a while, and then they were like, just go to the gift shop, buy a magic band, tell them that you're in concierge and you'll get it for free. It's just stuff like that. They just fix problems, and that's awesome. So the first thing is that, kind of the service and knowing your name and all that, having your drinks ready for you. The second thing is that lounge and that sun deck with the food, the hot food, the outdoor area, the hot tubs, the comfy loungers and all that. And then the third thing is there's a couple of perks that come along with it that make a big difference. Like, for example, those Walt Disney Theater shows, when I said there's a huge line all the way down deck 3 to get in, we never waited in that line, because when you're concierge, they open the doors to the theater 30 minutes before showtime. And if you get to the kind of quote unquote secret entrance down on deck 2, 35 minutes before showtime, you're escorted into the theater. They give you a bucket of popcorn and water, and you can sit. The whole theater's open. You're the first ones in there. You can sit wherever you want. All the concierge guests can claim their seats, and then the doors open up, and then all the other non-concierge folks kind of rush in and try to grab a seat real quick. And so it eliminates all that stress. So that's one of the huge perks. And then departure day too.
Oh gosh, huge.
Sometimes we've had really easy departure days from Disney Cruise Line ships, and sometimes it's been really painful. We sailed the Wonder out of California. We were in a line for like 90 minutes to get off the ship, and there was a huge line on this cruise.
There was.
And when you're concierge, you go to the lounge, and they gather, I don't know, 8 to 10 people together in groups, and then they walk you to the elevator. They call the elevator with a key. They lock it out so nobody else gets in that elevator. They take you directly down to deck 3, and they walk you directly off the ship. It is. And
I'll say, I don't know if you remember, but I got kind of stuck behind a line, and the lady was, which I totally understand. There was a lady in line going like, "Where are you headed?" Because I've been standing here.
Yeah, it's
and I can
that morning.
I can feel it. So I was trying to just be gentle about going through, and one of the concierge fellas, Pablo, came back around the corner, and he was like, "Miss Buffy, get over here." And he like parted the ways and got me across. I was like, oh my gosh, that was a little embarrassing.
That departure morning is the least magical part of a Disney cruise liner. Everybody's
really
having
is.
to get off and pay their bill, and they're waiting in lines to get off the ship, and the vacation's over.
Yeah.
But having that escort off was awesome. And then on the ship, same thing. There's a concierge lounge at the terminal that when you get there, they put a little sticker on your shirt, and then you're escorted to this lounge, and there's drinks and water and soda, comfortable places and charging stations, and you just hang out there, and then you're the first ones to board the ship. So concierge guests get on almost first. I think back-to-back cruisers get on first, and then you get on right after that. So that's
and your room's ready early, right?
Your room's ready earlier. You have a complimentary welcome lunch when you first board the ship at 1923.
That was nice.
With a free drink and good food. So you get the lunch, you get the concierge access at the terminal, you get the priority walk-off, you get the Walt Disney Theater access, you get each guest in the stateroom gets 24 hours of free internet, which was kind of nice because the internet's expensive. So
he took both days.
I took both days. She didn't want it. But that allowed us to have 2 of the 7 days where we had internet because we didn't pay for it otherwise. And then there's more perks above that. If we were in the regular veranda room, we were not in a suite.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a suite, you get things like a pillow menu where you can pick memory foam or soft or hard pillows. And there's a dining room table in the suites. And then you can have your dinner from the main restaurants delivered to your room. You can have specialty dinners like from Palo and Enchante delivered to your room. So there's more perks depending on how big of a suite you're in. But and those are I think the main perks. And then you send an email to Disney Cruise Line, I think it's 130 days before you're sailing, and you just tell them what you want. Like, I want to have a Palo brunch, and I want to on this day, and I want to do an Enchante dinner on this day, and we want to do these tastings and these port excursions, and these are the drinks that I like for our fridge in the room. And is there any way you guys could stock this for cocktails in the lounge? And you send them all that, and they just arrange it all for you. So you're not having to hunt on the app. Sometimes it can be really hard to get a Palo brunch or a specialty adult dinner or a tasting. And when you're concierge, you're guaranteed to get all that stuff without having to stress about it.
You also get a shot at a cabana on one of the private islands. Not that you have to be really lucky. You have to be platinum or pearl or...
You have to be concierge pretty much. Because I think concierge gets first. And there are, I want to say there's 24 cabanas at Castaway Cay, I think. And there's 72 concierge rooms. So if everybody in concierge wants a cabana, then everybody can have it. But that was, we literally sent our email at exactly midnight Eastern time on the day that we could send it. We couldn't have sent it any earlier, and we still didn't get a cabana. Not that we really needed one.
We don't really
wanted to see if we could get one. But
we've been, interested to see what our chances are. But I think if you're cruising regular style, I don't think you have a shot at a cabana.
Unless you get super lucky and somebody cancels one. But because we didn't get a cabana, we got put onto a wait list and we never got a cabana. So I would assume the concierge waitlist guests would get the cabana before. Maybe on the smaller ships, I think you have a chance because on the Magic and the Wonder, there's a lot fewer concierge rooms. But it seems like every time the ships go into dry dock, they add more concierge rooms. So it's probably going to get harder and harder. So anyway, there's no downside to concierge. It's amazing.
Besides the price,
is the cost. Yeah.
But I will say this: we typically book our cruises at least a year in advance, right? And so we've gotten some good deals on concierge. Yeah. It's ish. But I don't
know if there is such a thing as a good deal on Disney Cruise
Line.
I
guess not. But like if you sail in February and not June, concierge is like half the price as it is in June. So if you have some flexibility in your schedule and you have the ability to book and pay off that cruise like slowly before you actually, go before departure time, it might be worth the extra effort to do that.
It's definitely a whole different experience.
It is.
It's great without concierge too. It's not like
we've sailed a ton without
concierge,
and we will continue to do that.
Yeah, it definitely adds to it. All right, so final thoughts on the Disney Treasure in this 7-night cruise. Thoughts.
Oh, I feel so lucky that we got a chance to go. I feel like the weather was perfect for us. We had zero issues with weather. I loved the ship. I love the fact that we took time to do a real thorough tour of the ship. By the way, that's another video that we have
in the description down below.
Just because I feel like I know that ship. I feel like I've got an intimate relationship with that ship now.
I agree. Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to our cruise on the Destiny.
Big time.
Because I think that I have a good grasp. I don't think I got a very good grasp of the Wish. We just weren't on there long enough.
Yeah, 4 nights. Yeah, plus that is one, I guess, if you're on a really short cruise and you do concierge, which is what we did on the Wish, then you do miss out a little bit on really exploring the ship. Yeah. Because you want to take advantage of your concierge, what you paid for. So you spend a lot of time in the lounge and the sun deck, and then you don't see some of the other areas as much as you do. So maybe that's one downside. If you are a first-time cruiser on a ship that you haven't been on and it's a shorter cruise, maybe that's a good time to not do concierge.
Yeah, that's a true story.
The other downside of concierge is that once you do it, you want to do it again. And then it's very expensive.
We knew that. That was his fault. And I think that this last 7-day cruise on the Treasure, I enjoyed it. Probably it's in my top 2. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, I agree.
I love having both of our boys with us. That would be the only thing that wouldn't put it at absolute number 1, but it was incredible.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about in this whole video, which we don't have to get into because we've
already
spent too much time. But The live entertainment on the Treasure.
Oh, geez. Coriander
It's
and
like-
sage.
It's
That's a whole
different
video on its
experience.
own.
I know. We didn't even talk about this, but there's these storytellers called Coriander and Sage that are on the ship, and I don't know how they do this because these crew members seem like they work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, but it's the same two people. They do all these retelling of Disney stories and these interactive adventures. In fact, in this video, before we came on here for the review, you saw us doing the Jungle Cruise interactive adventure, and we were walking around the lobby and doing the backside of water, and it was hilarious. It was awesome. It was fun. But that, and then the live entertainment in the lounges, the bands and the pianists, and what are they called? The Victrophonics that performed in the Grand Hall, and the quality of the live entertainment in the Walt Disney Theater. The Disney Treasure blows away any of the other cruise lines we've been on from that perspective, from the live entertainment. Like nothing else is even. The Wish had nothing like that. The Wish had no Coriander and Sage.
They didn't have Coriander and Sage, but let's go back to the fact that because we were sailing Concierge on the Wish, we spent a lot of time in the lounge and on the sun decks. And I don't know that we fairly explored the Wish.
I do want to go back. I wish. I mean, eventually, I wish.
I wish
that
they
the
had a
Wish
7-day
would
cruise.
change their itineraries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too motivated to go on it again for a 4-night Nassau and Castaway Cay cruise. But if it changed someday and went to the Caribbean or West Coast or Alaska or Europe or something, and it will. I mean, there's 5 more ships coming or something. I'd have to think about it to remember exactly how many more. But even beyond the Destiny, there's a bunch more ships coming down the pike in the next 5 years. So they're going to be all over the place.
We are cruise fans. We are Disney cruise fans. And I want to keep going. Gives us something to look forward to.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah. I think you're kind of either a cruise person or you're not. And there's nothing wrong with it either way. Some people don't like it. Okay, it's crowded. There's lots of people. You're in small spaces. You're
on the ocean.
Kind of trapped on a boat. You're on the ocean. You know, there is kind of a parade of 4,000 people getting off the boat to go on their overpaid excursion and then parading back onto the ship. Like I understand the downsides people talk about, but we love it.
We love it.
Disney. Yeah.
Yeah. So
thanks for joining along. Thanks for coming along with us on our series of cruise videos. They're on a playlist and they'll be linked down below as well. Do us a favor and subscribe to our channel if you're not already, and comment down below what your experience has been. If you've been on the Treasure, did you love it? If there are any other questions you have about the ship, I'd be happy to answer them in the comments. And
do you have a cruise booked on the Treasure or the Destiny? And I would be interested to know
we'll
that.
Be on the Destiny in February of 2026. I actually don't. I think the Destiny actually premieres in September or October. It's not that far off. They're building it right now. It's not. I think it's within 6 months. It's going to be sailing.
So let us know.
Yeah. Thanks for coming along.
Yep. And we'll see you real soon.